morning, everyone, and welcome to my channel. I am Autumn Noble, and I am a life and career coach for attorneys. I work primarily with female attorneys and other professionals to help them get clear about their goals, find more time, balance, and happiness in their life. Today, the topic that we're going to be exploring is just kind of an introduction into what it is that I do with my clients and why this work is so important. So, for starters, I just want to clear up a few things. As a life coach, I am not asking to be hired by my clients because I have all of the answers. And anyone who knows me can certainly attest to the fact that I certainly do not have it all together, right? In fact, I remember times when I was working in a fancy law firm where I periodically showed up having forgotten to do my makeup on just half of my face. So I am right there with you, struggling just like the rest of you. I have my own coaches that I use to try and improve myself. And in doing that, I'm finding ways to give back to the community at the same time. So if you're new to coaching and you're not sure how this works, I just want to tell you that just like every other human on the face of the planet, I am also challenged every day to learn and grow. And sometimes it's just a challenge for me to fix my face and be kind. So I don't have all the answers. And if you ever encounter a coach who tells you that they have all the answers to you, make sure that you take a mental snapshot because that person is either an enlightened being or probably a narcissist. So instead of all the answers to how to fix everything in your life, what I can offer you is more of a how-to guide to yourself. So, for instance, did you know that our brains have between 60 and 80,000 thoughts per day? I am one of those people that can't even manage to do my ABCs if I've got music in the background that's a little bit too wordy. And so it's kind of a wonder that we can get anything done day to day with all of those thoughts kind of wandering around up there. But here's the deal. All of those thoughts up there are largely choices that we're making, and they're rarely factual. So they don't necessarily represent the truth more often than not. And they're not things that just sort of happen to us. They are things we are choosing to think. 60 to 80,000 things that we're choosing to think every day, and we completely control them. They are options, and you're probably picking crappy ones. If all of your thoughts are choices and can be characterized as truth or falsity, it becomes even more important for us to really look at and spend some time examining those thoughts and what we're choosing to think. Like, what is that elevator music that's going on up there all day long? And I don't mean challenging kind of the simple basic thoughts, right? The sky is blue, the time is 10 a.m. I'm not trying to get all red pill, blue pill, matrixy on my clients, but rather I really encourage my clients to challenge and evaluate the thoughts that have an impact on their daily lives. And those are the thoughts that drive our emotions, even if in a subtle way. One of the things that we have to know about our brain is that the reptilian part of our brain, that primitive part of our brain, is really it really gravitates towards these thought routines. It's designed to be consistent. So it's offering to us, and we're believing all sorts of crappy thoughts that we've never really stopped and asked ourselves, is this the kind of thought routine I want my brain to be running? Our brain has just continued to run it because it's designed to be efficient. And so it just keeps telling us these same thoughts and beliefs over and over and over again, without our awareness more often than not. So a couple examples of some thoughts that I recently got from my clients that were impacting how they were showing up every day. My boss has no idea how to manage people. My coworker is a judgmental prick. I can't be a partner and have a family. No one else works as hard as I do. I'm a terrible public speaker and I hate doing it. When my clients share those thoughts with me, they tell them to me as if they're the bare naked truth. They like those thoughts. They live in those thoughts. They snuggle up to those thoughts at night when they're mad at the world or burying their face in a gallon of pistachio ice cream. Whatever it is, those thoughts feel really important. So we let them kind of run, right? We buy into this elevator music. So then every time that client sees that boss that they think is a jerk or gets an email from them, they go down this kind of mental spiral and end up in this argument with him about how incompetent he is and how he's an energy vampire and he sucks the enjoyment out of work for everybody and everybody else. And on these thought patterns go. That is part of how our brain has evolved. Like once we give power to a thought and we put a lot of belief behind it, our brain just continues to run because our brain was evolved to keep you safe. Our brain was not evolved to damn the man or buck the system or get uncomfortable. It was also not evolved to challenge those thoughts. So once we've sort of bought into a pattern, my boss is a jerk, your brain is not going to argue against you. It's going to continue to run that thought on a loop over and over again. Our brains were designed to kind of keep us in this safe realm with thoughts that we know and thoughts that we trust. And partly that was to keep us alive and in the cave and not doing crazy things that would risk our lives and our safety. Knowing that, we have to really embrace that if we ever want to do big things, new things, change the pattern, do something that's inconsistent with whatever our elevator music is, it's going to force us to experience some discomfort, some fear, and some uncertainty. That is also going to require you to either ignore all of those thoughts in your head or develop alternative thoughts. So, what I'm saying is, if we want to do new things, if you want to change your pattern, if you want to change your experience, we have to either completely ignore the crappy thoughts in our head, or we have to come up with alternative thoughts and take some power away from what we have been believing. So, for instance, if you want to no longer work with that boss that you think is a jerk, we have to stop living in this world where I think he's a jerk and I think he's a terrible leader. We have to shift over to, okay, how can I navigate this and stop giving all my energy to being frustrated with him? How can I let go of some of that anger? So, if you think about it, we have this boss that we've kind of decided is a jerk, and our brain just runs with it and it piles on all these other thoughts about how terrible he is. If we want to let go of that anger and redirect that energy elsewhere, we have to choose other thoughts that kind of take down the noise a little bit. One of those thoughts that you could explore is, he's doing the best he can. He's doesn't have the skill set to be a good boss. No one ever taught him. Maybe he grew up in the law firm with even worse bosses than he is, and he thinks he's doing a great job. Maybe he thinks he's doing a terrible job, and maybe he spends all of his time and energy worrying that everybody hates him, right? We don't know any of these things. And so we have to at least be open to the possibility that there's more going on here than my boss is just a jerk and a terrible human being. In that space, we just live angry every day. If we want to not be angry every day and show up differently, we have to at least be open to the possibility that there are other truths available to us in this situation. And I'm not saying you have to see everything and everyone with these rose-colored glasses, and you most definitely should not delude yourself or lie to yourself about anything ever. But what I'm saying is that there are good things or unknown things about every person or circumstance in our life. And so why not spend our energy thinking about those instead, or at least considering their existence? Because after all, where we are thinking or what we're thinking, it is a choice. You can choose to show up every day believing my boss is a jerk and sucks all the happiness and energy out of my work. Or you can show up every day thinking, he really doesn't have the skill set to be a good boss. Neither one feels great, but one is going to allow you to show up without that anger and start making some different choices with different emotions behind them. The reason this work is so important is because the thoughts that we choose all elicit feelings, and those feelings are going to drive our actions and ultimately the results that we create in our lives. Our thoughts are truly at the root of all of our feelings, all of our actions, and everything that we create for ourselves, period. So if you have crappy thoughts, you're going to have crappy results. And so if you don't want to have crappy results, we have to start really evaluating our own elevator music. What are those 60 to 80,000 thoughts I'm thinking every day? And are they eliciting emotions that drive me to act in a way that's consistent with what I want in my life? If you spend your everyday thinking crappy thoughts about your boss, you're going to feel terrible, angry, annoyed, unmotivated, or whatever, but that's your choice. Knowing that, you kind of have to ask, why would I choose that? Do I want to feel angry, annoyed, and unmotivated? And certainly there might be times in your life when you do choose to be angry. But what I've often found is that most of us don't want to live day in and day out angry about our boss. It's just not helpful. And so we have to decide to believe something else. As you think about this today, I want you to just play around with it, right? I want you to be in touch with how you're feeling in any moment. When you feel yourself kind of getting frustrated about a circumstance in your life, I want you to really look at the thoughts that are happening in your mind right now. Maybe it's, I'm never going to have enough money. I'm never going to be successful. They're never going to respect me. I'm never going to get promoted. Whatever those thoughts are, I want you to get connected with them and at least see them and look at them, and then connect with your body and say, how are those thoughts making me feel right now? And then just explore. What if I chose to believe I'm figuring this out? This is just a step on my path. I have complete control over my career and my own power and my own voice, or whatever it is. But just playing around with other thoughts that are different, that you can believe and have energy behind them. Just that simple experiment, you're going to feel a different energy. That's an easy way for you to kind of see, okay, whatever I am thinking really it's causing a vibration within my body. And when I'm feeling angry and frustrated, this is how I act and this is how I show up. And when I'm feeling a little bit more kind of excited, like I'm going to figure this out, this is just a step on my path. None of this is going to dictate my future successes. Whatever those thoughts may be, that vibration is going to feel very differently. And how you're going to show up day in and day out from that space is going to be different. So you can kind of get some clarity around the choices that are before you. So instead of crucifying our bosses every day in our heads, we can instead choose to believe, he's doing the best that he can. I know that if I left, he would be really disappointed and hurt, and he truly does want me to succeed, right? When we live in that space and be open to those thoughts, it's going to change everything for us. And it allows us to use our energy in a more positive way. So what I'm really trying to show you here is that all of those thoughts that we have kind of bouncing around up there are creating how we feel and how we show up in every single day. So as I said today, I want you to take a moment that if you're feeling upset, stop and take some time and sit down and write down those thoughts, those choices that we're making every second, just thousands of them over and over and over again. We want to start looking at those choices that we're making and start deciding, do we want to make those choices, or do we want to make better choices? Those thoughts are truly what are making you feel whatever negative emotion that may be. It's nothing else. There's nothing in this world that can make you feel a certain way. And there are no humans on this planet that can make you feel a certain way. They're all within your control, your thoughts and your choices. So take a look at all of them and start asking, is this what I want to think? Are these choices that I feel good about making? That's truly kind of the magic sauce at the core of what I do with my clients, is helping them gain some awareness of their thought patterning and their beliefs about themselves and what they're capable of, or about this world in general, and how those thoughts impact how they're feeling and the actions that flow from those. Because once we have control over that, we can truly change our lives. Now, if that kind of amorphous, squishy explanation doesn't resonate with you, then let's make this a little bit more concrete, right? And kind of get a little Bill Nye on the whole thing. So if you look into the work of Dr. Masaru Emoto, he conducted a lot of experiments on how our thoughts and intentions alter the shape and structure of water crystals. So for those of us that aren't kind of science nerds, I'm certainly not, Dr. Emoto studied the impact of positive and negative thoughts and how those thoughts impacted water crystallization. So when water was exposed to positive thoughts, the water formed these beautiful, very balanced crystalline structures. In comparison, the glasses of water that were exposed to that negative thinking or words formed distorted and unshapely crystalline structures. Incredibly fascinating. Now apply that to ourselves. Our bodies are made up of 60% of water, and our brains are 70% water. That means that the negative thoughts that you carry with you, that negative elevator music that you're not aware of, it is actually impacting the physical structures in your body, because so much of us is comprised of water. So when you think about kind of your boss, going back to that analogy, if you think those negative thoughts are hurting your boss, think again. You are the only one that feels the negative emotion that comes from those thoughts, that feels the anger. And physically, literally, they are hurting you in the parts of your body that are comprised of water. They're physically altering portions of your body, especially your brain and your heart. So what's more is those thoughts are creating those negative feelings. And to be perfectly honest, those feelings don't inspire us to become employee of the year or to resolve that relationship with the boss. So again, you're only hurting yourself. Your boss does not feel any of those mental jabs. So we can't all be a Jedi and wound people with our brains. When we sit in that space and we sit in that anger, we are really the only people that feel it emotionally, but also physiologically. So my work is really founded upon that truth that our thoughts create our feelings, that create our actions, and ultimately create our life and impact us on so many different physiological levels. I work with all of my clients to really connect the dots between the actions that they're taking in their life and career and how those actions tie back to thoughts that they might not even be aware that they're having. And so it's not easy work. And when I share this with you, it's not like I'm trying to give you the keys of the kingdom and like, this is everything that we do and you don't need a coach because this is the simple truth. I think this is a basic truth that all humans should know. And I work with my clients to learn the sneaky ways that our brains really trick us and hold us back. You will be amazed at yourself and how you can kind of talk yourself out of some of these thoughts. When we start getting savvy, we realize how good our brain is at kind of latching onto those thoughts that we've carried with us for so long. We don't want to let go of them. We want to maintain that routine. That's part of having a primitive brain. So truly, it's not easy work. And if it were, I think everyone would be doing it. And I think everyone would be living the life of their dreams. And it's just simply hard stuff. And I think that's why having a coach is so important because we help you learn to manage the skills, manage your mind and your emotions. And it's a challenge that I would invite everyone that I encounter to engage in because it's truly the work of a lifetime. So that's a quick breakdown about what we do in coaching and kind of what I base my coaching on. So I hope that if any of you have any questions, you will reach out to me, autumn@theuncomfortabledream.com. Otherwise, feel free to follow me on my blog, theuncomfortabledream.com. Thanks.